Spyro A Hero's Tale, the last game that followed the original Spyro formula and tried to clean up the mess made by the last entry. Certainly not the most memorable game, but something worth looking back to. Stay around to see if this was the great departure to our beloved series or just the last breath of a drowning man. This is Spyro A Hero's Tale years later. There is a lot to talk about, so first let's lay some background. Universal Interactive, the holder of the Spyro rights back then, were on a really tight spot. The last game, Enter the Dragonfly, was poorly received on every front. That meant that not a lot of the audience was expecting a new Spyro game to be good. On top of that, the new generation was hitting with full force, and mascot 3D platformers and collectathons were leaving its place to more dynamic and action-oriented games. So there was a pressure to make Spyro regain the trust of his fans, but still move forward to follow the new gameplay styles. The first step to make this a reality: get a completely new developer with a completely different background and a completely different ideology, even in a completely different continent. This time, Eurocom Games was charged with the task of bringing Spyro back. They have to achieve 3 goals. 1. Regain the trust of the fans. 2. Bring Spyro into the new generation, and 3. Recapture the spirit that makes Spyro good in the first place. As we can see, those are not easy tasks. There was a lot of pressure to make this a good product. So did they succeed? Let's start taking a look at the game. The first things I'd like to talk about always is the visuals, and in this front, the developers take 1 step forward and 1 step backward, so they pretty much end in the same place the last game was. All character models receive an upgrade. They look less nightmarish this time, but it's still not good enough to fit perfectly with the environment they are in. They have less facial deformations and proportions this time are better balanced, but it's still not good enough to be visually appealing. At least the environments are actually better this time. There's more creativity put into this one, so everything looks a little more lively and less mundane. There are more interesting things to see in every level, but at the end everything just balances out. This is just the perfect middle of the road. It's not good, it's not bad, it does its job and that's it. Even with the inclusion of more modern techniques, now we have particle effects, shadow, lighting, all that stuff, it's still just nah. It's there, it looks better with it there, but still not good enough when we compare it to all the other games that were released in that time. It's an update, but not the update it needed to be relevant again. At least this time the game works perfectly. No bugs, no glitches, no crashes, runs smoothly from beginning to end at 60 FPS, which is not something to be proud about. That is something it's supposed to do, so we're kind of like, okay, it works, now what? Where the changes do make a difference is on the gameplay. The first big change is the adoption of a semi-open world. Now instead of having different small levels, everything is interconnected with this hub area. It's not bad, but certainly not the improvement we needed. Different levels did not make the game bad the last time, so changing it is not gonna make it better. The only thing it does is making traversing slower and longer. Now for getting from point A to point B, you need to spend more time walking around. There's certainly fast travel points, but they don't work as smoothly as it should. Gems are now a full currency. Its only use is to buy stuff at the stores. I mean, store, there's only one, but everything you can buy is just garbage. So if everything you can buy is useless, gems ourselves are useless. Okay, they're just there for the sake of tradition. The other Spyro games have gems, these must have gems too. It would be better if they took a Mario-esque approach and every 100 gems they give you a life, which also be kind of pointless because the life system is pointless as well. Every time you die, you just put back a few steps so you can just go and retry all the times you want. This is the consequence of having a semi-open world where there is no actual consequences for dying. The point is, there is a lot of pointless stuff in this game. Even some collectibles are pointless. There are 4 types of collectibles. You have your dark crystals, your rainbow crystals, your dragon's eggs, and the 4th one that I forgot. That's how important they are. Alright, dragon eggs are... I don't know what they actually do. It's supposed to unlock extra content, like, you know, artwork and stuff like that, so it doesn't have any impact on the gameplay. So there's actually only 2 important collectibles, dark crystals and rainbow crystals. Dark crystals are your everyday collectible, found them all, you beat the game. And then rainbow crystals are pretty much the same. yeah, you're supposed to gather a certain amount of crystals to access an area on the map. Which bring up the question, then why do you need two different types of collectible if they do the same? I will understand if dark crystals are found and rainbow crystals are earned, but most of them are just found. There's no differentiation. If both are obtained the same and both do the same, why do we need two? It would be better if you just use one kind of collectible and that's it. It just tries to appear like there's more things to do by making the separation. Oh, it's not the same, or two different things, but they are pretty much obtained the same way, so mechanically it makes no difference. There are a few challenges here and there, more on that later, but there are really few of them. There's not like a big variety. Most of the collectibles are just found around the world, which makes sense this time, trying to fit the collecting aspect with the semi-open world approach. Now you have a more open area. It makes sense that the collectibles are just around the level so you can explore and go places, like trying to encourage you to explore more of the level, not simply go from point A to point B. But to do that, you really need a good map. You really need a way to tell the player where he is and where is everything else. And there is a big problem in this game with that aspect, because the map is really obscure. It's not descriptive. There's always been a problem with trying to map 3D spaces in 2D. You always lose depth. Most games solve this problem by having different 2D maps for every floor. First floor, second floor, and you can choose which floor you are. Here, everything is just one flat map. So in certain areas where there's actually some verticality, some different floors, you don't have that perception. Everything's just flat. It's kind of hard to know where is the exit, where is the entrance, if you don't know at what height it is. It's a little confusing. The other problem here is objective markers. It's important to know, okay, I have a big map, but I want to progress through the game. I want to progress through the story. Tell me where do I need to go. And the game does not have that. The game has a checklist, like, alright, you need to do this, 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 and just a bunch of text telling you what you're supposed to do, but it's really not useful. There was this point where I accessed the second big area where the objective, the checklist says, find the ancient dragon on the coast. I was like, okay, I will find it, but they don't tell you where the coast actually is. You just have to walk around and find it by yourself. And there's a big problem because there is no direction you're supposed to go exactly. Everything is open to you. You can go and walk right out of the path to a place you're not supposed to go yet and find collectibles that you're not supposed to found yet. So you're pretty much just finding stuff, unlocking stuff, getting stuff, and not progressing through the story. That's a big problem. After like 30 minutes just aimlessly walking, like, alright, I found like half dark crystal I'm supposed to find on this area, and I still haven't found the dragon. Where is the dragon? Tell me where the dragon is. The game have no way to tell you where you're supposed to go. The point of a collectathon is that collecting itself is the goal. The more you collect, the more you can progress. And here is backwards. You can collect a lot of stuff and you can get all the dark crystals, the rainbow crystals, and the whatever. But if you haven't found this specific stuff, you cannot progress, and no one tell you where that stuff is. That's just bad design. It will work way better if they tell you where to go but not how to get there. It will force the player to explore as well, but it will limit the area you're supposed to explore, not walking aimlessly to somewhere. It makes sense. If you're gonna have an open world, you want to focus on exploration, but you really need to put a lot of effort, polish the details before only focusing on that. Well, it's not the only focus. There are still challenges, there are still other playable characters. They are not as much challenges as before, but they are a few of them, and some of them are really good. The biggest change is that now Sergeant Bird takes Spyro place in the time trials, you know, when you have to fly around, destroy all the objectives before the time runs out. And I got to admit, this is actually better than the other games. This is because Sergeant Bird have better mobility than Spyro. you can change the speed of mid-flight, you can shoot from a distance. There's less order in this level, so the idea is you have to explore more. You have to find a way in which you can actually beat the time trial, fly in different places, go different routes, so you can figure it out what is the best way to beat the trial. I think it's a good addition to the old style where you just fly a predetermined route and you see how fast you can make that route. This is the place where you see they actually put some thought into making the gameplay at least more interesting than the games that came before. I don't know if that was intentional or there was an accident, but I'm thinking more towards an accident because the other playable characters are just garbage. I'm not saying this because I want to be no, those other characters are really garbage. From the way they play, to the way they move, to the way they talk, they're really terrible characters. I don't want to go into detail because there are a lot of problems in here and I can spend like 30 minutes talking about it. The best way I can explain it is like they forgot to build these sections and suddenly someone realized it and they scrapped something together 4 hours before shipping the game. It feels really rushed and really rubbish. It doesn't feel like it's belonged there. So was this the revitalization of the Spyro franchise? Clearly not. This is what I like to call misguided effort. There is a lot of effort put into this game, but all in the wrong places. They change things that didn't need to be changed, they add things that didn't need to be added, they cut out things that need to be in, and overall it's just bad vision. The sad part is, I think this could work. This feels like it's the most obvious evolution to the Spyro we like. It makes sense to open a little more the world, it makes sense to add different type of collectible to do different things. Sadly, all these ideas were never put together to obtain a better product. I have a sensation if the people who make this game have more time, or at least the chance to make a sequel, taking all the information, all the knowledge, all they learned from this, they could actually make a legit game, or at least maybe not good, maybe not as good as the old ones, but something that we will love to play. Sadly, this was a make it or break it situation. There was no other chance and Spyro didn't make the cut. It left us with the sensation that Spyro could have done more, could have been more, but this is what we got. And for what we got, it's not that bad. I certainly cannot recommend this game, but Spyro as a series really leaves its mark. I have mixed feelings with this because I have the desire to see where the series could go next with all these concepts to bring around if they could actually make it work, but I also have relief they didn't run the series to the ground before abandoning it. They didn't cut it in his highest, but they didn't cut it in his lowest, so overall I think it was a good place just to let it be. The next time Spyro came around, it was a completely different game with a completely different mindset, so for me, this is the point where Spyro just stopped putting out new stuff. This is the last Spyro as we knew it, and it was a really fun ride. It gave us this really great game concept. Spyro managed to at least be relevant. And about Spyro, A Hero's Tale, it's not the best, not the worst, therefore not worth remembering.